Welcome back to the Cinema Condition with your host, filmmaker, and creator of the Nerdcore Podcast Network, Raul Alejandro Mendoza. And as always, we're here for another week as we have another guest on the show. And today we're inviting back again for the fourth time? I don't remember.
Third.
We did The Shining.
Then we did 2001. Yeah.
And then we're doing, that was the third time. Yeah. Time.
Yeah, this is the third.
For the third time, Pat G picks. Pat G, bro. Patty G, Patricio.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing very good.
I can't look at your face, bro. I can't look at your face without wanting to just start laughing, bro.
I'm doing good. Just ready to graduate. Oh, I got my vaccine shot today. My first.
Yeah, bro. Oh, you got the first dose today?
Yeah.
When's the next dose?
That's a good question. Sometime early May, I believe.
Okay, it better not be May 21st to the 23rd.
No, I don't have anything. I think I need to put that in my calendar, but I don't have anything scheduled.
All right. Yeah, I got my first dose in March, so I'm gonna get my second dose on Friday, actually. On Friday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Which one did you get? Do you know?
Bro, I'm all about that Moderna Mafia, bro.
Yeah.
Moderna Mafia.
I got Pfizer.
Damn, bro. Well, that's too bad, bro. That's too bad. But yeah, man. What's going on, dude? How you doing?
Good. Just getting ready to graduate. Taking a lot of pics. You saw my little my new project, my self-portrait project I'm working on. And just trying to get myself out there as an artist. And I really haven't been watching a whole lot of movies, so it was nice to watch this. And then I'm also in a Mexican, the Latin, I don't know like the proper name for it, but it's Mexican director class, and it's over Cuarón, Iñárritu.
The Three Amigos.
Yeah, the Three Amigos. And so we finished Del Toro first. No, we did Iñárritu. Am I saying that right?
Iñárritu.
And then right now we're doing
Alejandro, bro. It's probably easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're doing Cuarón right now, but I'm behind. I need to watch and read soon. The first one's Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Oh, one of my favorite movies of all time, bro.
Yeah.
One of my favorites of all time. You know,
I think I'm gonna watch it Thursday night with Kelvin. Kelvin has the Criterion for it. So.
Yeah, I have the Criterion. It's on my shelf too.
Dope.
Yeah, man. That movie is beautiful, dude. I love that movie. But hey, I mean, talking about Iñárritu, thank you guys so much for the love on the last episode. Wow, y'all showed up for the love on that one. We talked about Amores Perros. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun. But guess what? It's just as much fun to have Pat back. Patrick, for those of them who are new, because this isn't season 1 anymore, we're in season 2. We're in season 2, bro. You want to let them know who you are?
Yes, sir. So I'm Pat Grady. I reside in Houston, Texas. I met Raul through film classes at UH, and my main thing is photography right now. But I love film, so I'm always exploring and learning about film. But one day I hope to be directing and shooting and being a part of some films. Planning a couple films, but haven't made anything that I'm like super happy with yet. But one day I'll be creating some good stuff, I'm sure, as I figure out myself in this world and what I want to create. Yeah.
Patrick is actually helping me on before I leave. He's on as my gaffer, as my handy gaffer. And Patrick is also the DP of and the Neon Gods. That's possibly shooting next year.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try to probably shoot like probably around this time, like April, May
next year.
Yeah, like springtime would be really nice because it won't be super hot, but it'll still be hot enough because it's gonna be in the desert. and we don't want it to be winter because it was funny when we went and location scouted. We went during winter break and it was snowing.
Ooh.
And so I have some interesting pictures of like cactus in the desert, but it's snow. So it's like it's a weird combo.
Yeah. Well, either way, man. Patrick's one of my best friends. I love the man. Since the first day I met him, we just clicked and we hung out and we just kept on hanging out. He's been to my grandmother's house. He's been over to my house. He's worked on a film with me now, and he's a guy who I brought on last season. He's one of my best friends in the world, and I love him a lot. And I get to see him soon next month. So
yep,
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but Patrick, if you remember last season, y'all, Patrick actually picked a trilogy, and we are here to start our run through the trilogy. So you might think, wait, does that mean like Pat comes back in like 3 or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months, and he has to do the next one? No, Pat picked a trilogy, so he has to be here for not just this week,
back to back,
but the following week and the next week, and then the week that follows that one, because we're going through all 3 films together. We're going to be doing back to back to back, and that was the consensus of what he would choose the Three Colors Trilogy for. But yes, yeah, man, I'm glad to have you back. Season 2's been going strong, man. We've had some really good stuff before this. I say that, but I know that you don't listen to the show, so whatever. But like, yeah.
I need to. I've been listening to a lot more podcasts recently. I've been listening to a lot of photographers talk.
Yeah.
I need to get into some more movie podcasts, but
man.
I guess I can start off with this one.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you've been on the show, so you can say that at least. You've been on here multiple times now. But you know what, bro? I'm glad that you're here. We're gonna be Patrick chose the Three Colors Trilogy from Kieslowski, and that means we are going to be covering blue today. We cover white next week, and then we cover red the week after that. And we've never talked about Krzysztof before, and on here, so I have to introduce you all to Krzysztof Kieslowski. But I'm gonna love introducing him because I want to talk just about like what's it called, our first. What's it called? That wasn't your first, right? You had watched the Three Colors way before you watched a short film about love, right?
I think I had, yes.
Okay.
I don't think I had seen red yet, but I think I had only seen blue.
Really?
I don't even think I'd seen white. But it wasn't my first, but.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into this, though. So let me introduce you all to the filmmaker known as Krzysztof Kieslowski. I don't know how to really say Kieslowski. I'm not Polish myself. I don't know Polish, so I don't know how to speak Polak. So let's go ahead and talk about him. Polish film director, born June 27th, 1941, and died March 13th, 1996. He moved around a lot as a young child because his father was a tuberculosis patient. So he had to move around wherever he could find treatment for tuberculosis. At 16, he attended a firefighter's training school, but dropped out after a few months. He originally wanted to become a theater director and went to a school run by a relative of his, but could not continue because he did not have a bachelor's degree in theater. So instead, he opted out to study film, which he saw as an immediate step. He left college and applied to Lodz in Poland, but was rejected twice. And since he did not want to do military service, he became an art student. But while he was an art student, he still could not, opt out of military service. So he forcefully, made himself medically unfit to join the military.
Really?
Yeah. He decided just to get as medically unfit as possible for service.
Did he break his own leg or what?
I'm guessing he just tried to like not eat much and like
Yeah, maybe he just made himself too skinny or malnourished
yeah.
or something.
But
Dang.
on the third attempt in 1964, he was accepted into Lod's directing program. He attended until 1968 and lost interest in theater, so he began an interest in documentary filmmaking. His early work are all pretty much documentaries with They came off as very political, even though he has said himself as he didn't intend them to be as political as they were. But because of that, he was met with a lot of problems as a documentarian with the government and those around him. Looking at him different because of his political stances within the films. So he decided to move on to fictional narrative filmmaking to depict the truth of life. He would go on to create several films like Personnel and Camera Buff. And in 1998, he released the Decalogue 10 short films based on the 10 Commandments in the Bible. And from those 10 short films, he creates two narrative films, two narrative feature films. One of them called the short film about love, and another one called the short film about killing. He was supposed to make another one called a short film about jealousy, but he was exhausted and he didn't feel like he wanted to continue on with the work. So his commercial success after Decalogue allowed him to gain funding from France to work on his last 4 films, The Double Life of Veronique and the Three Colors Trilogy, which we are discussing these following weeks. He retired in 1994 from filmmaking after the premiere of Red at the Cannes Film Festival, and he has won the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival and the Silver Bear for Best Directing at the Berlin International Film Festival, and he is a 3-time Academy Award nominee. At the time of his death, during open heart surgery after suffering a heart attack, he was working on a new trilogy, looking at Heaven, Hell, and Purgatory. That was what the trilogy was going to be called, based on Dante's Divine Comedy, but he could not complete the work because he died. And later, those films were completed by 3 different directors and different screenwriters. So that's
how did he pass away? Do you know? He was only like 50.
He got a heart attack, and they were doing open heart surgery, and he just died during surgery. Yeah.
And then who ended up doing those films?
3 different directors, I believe. They're not even Polish, dude. I think they were like, one was Bosnian, and then one was Russian, I think. I can search up for you, but yeah, he was going to do those 3 films, and 2 of them follow the trilogy, but the last one is not canon in a way, but it's still the movie that was made, but it wasn't canon to say. So the first one, Heaven, was done by Tom Tykwer in 2002. He's a German filmmaker. Hell was done by Dani Tonovic, who is the Bosnian filmmaker, and then Hope was done by Stanislaw Mucha in 2007, but that one doesn't even have a freaking Wikipedia page. He's a German-Polish director, German-Polish film, and this one was the one that's like not in canon, but it kind of is, but it's kind of not.
Were they written by the guy that Kieslowski collaborated with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the scripts were written by Christoph I'm not gonna try that. Yeah, whatever his name was. I don't know how to pronounce them, but he worked on those films with them.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Brad. Why do I want to keep calling you Brad? Is it because you're white? I don't think so, man. But my other friend Brad, who does the podcast with me, I guess I'm just missing him today. I first watched a movie from Krzysztof Kieslowski when we were in our film theory class. We talked about surrealism. Well, not surrealism. I don't think it was that.
Voyeurism.
Voyeurism, yes, voyeurism. And we watched a short film about love. I loved it. I love that film. It's still one of my favorites of all time. I have it high up on my list. But you know, I was just the whole time I was just like, man, this is really interesting. But everybody in our class is like, this movie's kind of weird, and I'm like, this is weird to y'all? Like, like I've seen some really weird shit, dude. I have to watch Sallow because they gave me money to watch Sallow. So like,
what is that? I don't know what Sallow is.
Sallow or the 120 Days of Sodom. Just search that up on your computer right now.
Okay.
And then just read the what's it called? It's a Pasolini movie. Yeah.
100 Days of Sodom.
120 Days of Sodom. Yeah. But yeah, and everybody was just like, this movie's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I like it, but I was like, I was really into it. And then Pat, after we watched it, Pat was like, this is the guy who did the Three Colors Trilogy. I was like, I've never seen the Three Colors Trilogy. And then of course Pat started talking with Dr. Carrera, and he was going on about how like he loved the Three Colors Trilogy, how especially Red, he was like, yeah, Red is just incredible. He said,
I remember.
Yeah. He says Red is I remember him saying Red is magical. It's fantastic. It's a surreal experience. And I'm like, yeah, man. I was interested, but I mean, of course, Pat, you know how my schedule is, bro. Like I have to watch a lot of movies for reviews, and I have to do a crap ton of stuff. So like I don't get to watch movies unless like they're for content or I really, really want to seek them out. So like recently, and like the World of One Car White Set was for content, and I watched them all. But like those would have been ones that I would have sat down to watch. But it's just easier for me to catch up on films when they're for content. But did you search up what Sallow was?
Yeah. So I'm reading, and it says,
it's
the film focuses on four wealthy, corrupt Italian libertines in the time of fascist Republic of Sallow. Libertines kidnap 18 teenagers and subject them to 4 months of extreme violence, sadism, and sexual and psychological torture.
Yeah. I have to watch that.
Have fun.
Because we reached the goal for the funding of the film.
Well, you like Climax and you like Fellini, and so you like confusion and
I like confusion, but I don't like to see people. But I don't like to see people eat. Dude, I like confusion and sex, but I don't like seeing people eat shit. Yeah, but you know what? After I watch the film, I'll be able to email Dr. Carrera and say, Professor, I finally watched Sallow, and give him my thoughts. But look, man. But yeah, which one did you first watch from Grisov?
Like what was the first movie I've seen by him?
Yeah, was it Blue?
I think it was Three Colors Blue.
Yeah.
And that was really nice for me because I've always enjoyed like romance movies, especially when they're more artsy. Like I think I grew up and liked like kind of coming of age romance movies that had more like artsy characters in it as opposed to like cheerleader or football jock, stuff like that. And so to see like one that's fairly serious and be so stylized too. I love when color is like heavily involved in a film. Yeah. And so obviously the three movies are based off of these three colors. And so I think just on a surface level, it was appealing, but then seeing it was so beautiful. Yeah. And poetic. I've watched a few like video essays and stuff over it, and everybody keeps repeating how poetic the film is. Yeah.
I still want to watch a short film about killing, because I believe so. One of the things that is just so interesting about Christoph is just the political effect that a lot of his films have, and a short film about killing was one of the films that really really influenced Poland to outlaw the death penalty.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I want to watch the short film about killing, but I also do want to watch Double Life of Veronique, because I mean it's his last 4 films. But
Yeah.
Christoph is a really interesting filmmaker that I always wanted to get into and watch more of, but I just didn't have the time. So I'm glad that Patrick chose him. So today we're going to be discussing the first installment in the Three Colors Trilogy, Blue, and I'll go ahead and give you like the small amount of detail that I got from the freaking pages on Wikipedia and IMDb. Yeah. Yeah. It's the first installment in the trilogy representing the French revolutionary ideals of liberty. Oh, wow. I didn't finish this is the first one that represents the ideal of liberty. And next week, I'll tell you about the other one that's represented by white. So that's why I didn't put the other ones. Golden Lion, it's a Golden Lion winner and Volpe Award for Best Actress for Julia Binoche. Or Binoche? I don't know. Cesar Award for Best Actress, Best Sound, and Best Film Editing. It was also nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Foreign Language Film at the time, and also Julia Binoche was nominated for Best Actress at the Golden Globes. This film, what's it called? It basically looks at a woman who gets into a car crash with her husband and her daughter, and the daughter and husband die in the car crash. And she basically takes the next couple of days to basically not just grieve, but separate herself emotionally from everybody who's out in the world who wants her in her life. And she separates herself and she faces the repercussions of doing that. And it's a very pensive look at the life of this woman who just wants to be left the fuck alone. Pat, why did you choose this movie other than what you just told me right now?
I think I wanted an excuse to watch it again and explore it more. I had gotten, I had bought the box set, Criterion, and
show it off.
I got it right here.
Hold on, I got you, bro. Just hold it right there. Show it off. It's right there, bro. Look at that beautiful set. That's a beautiful set, man. For that, look, that's why I'm telling y'all need to be on the Patreon, because if you're not in the Patreon, you're not seeing this beautiful set.
Let's see. How do I poke them out?
Yeah. Those are good, bro. That's good. Yeah, you got that on the sale, right?
Yeah. I got it on sale for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think I just wanted to explore it more. I've begun to realize, I didn't realize this when I picked it, but as I'm graduating college and stuff, I'm wanting to figure out I'm trying to figure out what I want to be creating as an artist. If I want to try to be a full-time artist, right now it's a photographer, and trying to create photo books or have shows and trying to get attention and get people to pay me for things or pay me to create things. I'm trying to figure out, what I enjoy and what I want to create. And I think I'm discovering that I really enjoy learning about love and how people view love, and everybody's different perspectives on it, and how it brings them joy, but also how in this movie, how it affects you when you lose your love, or whether it's breakup or death. And like I said earlier, I've always loved romance movies. And so I think this just allows me to kind of study love and see how the great artist Kieslowski portrays love in these films. And I think so it's nice for me to reflect about how I feel about these situations, but also see how someone who's so good at creating the visual art as well portrays love. So that's why I'm excited to study this and learn about it.
Yeah, Kieslowski had said that he didn't like making films about things that are so divisive, like politics and religion and things like that. He loved making movies about the things that unite us as people, and those are our feelings and specifically the way that we show our love, because all of us are capable of showing love, and all of us are capable of feeling sadness and happiness and and joy and so many different feelings. So he said that he preferred making films about that because those are the things that are unique to the human condition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm glad you chose it, man. I don't usually like to review movies on here because that's not what the show's about. But I break the rule when I get to watch movies that I think are really good. This one's pretty damn good. I really like this movie.
Yeah.
This movie's beautiful. I mean, it's first of all, just the way that we open the movie. It's just incredible. Yeah. It
The
reminded me
opening, dude.
just that.
I was watching it last night.
Yeah, just the motorcycle going.
The first note that I have is beautiful opening.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds you a lot about the scene in Solaris when you're going through like the tunnel and he's going to the space station. Also reminds me of the scene in Fallen Angels when he's on the motorcycle with the girl and you're just going through the tunnel with them, and it's just like it's a beautiful way to open the movie. But
did you see that guy that recreated that photo of
which one?
The Fallen Angels? So the Fallen Angels motorcycle scene.
No, I didn't see it.
Some dude he might have like a lot of social media clout or something. He recreated that picture, and he did a solid job of like recreating the photo.
Yeah.
Like it looks cool. It looks very similar to the Wong Kar-wai still. And everybody was like freaking out about it. And I was so confused. Like, it looks good, but it's like, dude, someone already made that. Like, why are you?
But also what
like,
what makes that special isn't the photo. I mean, the visual aspect. It's also like the sound design and the music that's playing throughout most of those scenes when they're in the tunnel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a photo. Like, it's cool. Like, you got to recreate it, but like, what makes that scene so special is just the other aspects that go into making the movie the movie. But yeah, I thought this movie was great, and I'm glad that we're doing the whole run through the trilogy because the next one stars Julie Deppie, who's like one of my favorite actresses of all time. Like, I loved her in the Before trilogy from Richard Linklater.
I haven't seen that.
Oh man, talk about romance films, bro. You didn't watch that.
Yeah, it's been on my list. I'm sure it's probably inspired by.
Yeah, have you still not seen what's it called? Scenes from a Marriage from Bergman? Bro, that's my favorite movie about love and divorce and marriage. Yeah.
What is it? Scenes of Marriage?
Scenes from a Marriage. But watch the theatrical version unless you want to watch the TV miniseries.
Okay.
But, it's but yeah, I mean, just like Patrick, I'm very interested in romance and the way that we depict it, but I don't like the cheesy bullshit you see like in rom-coms. There's a reason why In the Mood for Love is like one of my favorite movies of all time, because that's a love that hurts. That shit hurts to watch, bro. Like that's a pain that I don't like to revisit constantly.
Yeah,
like, that shit hurts.
And it's a love movie, but like I don't think you see anybody kiss in the movie. I know there's a sex scene and they allude to sex a couple times,
but no, there's never
you don't really
any
see anybody. You don't see anyone kiss.
No,
and it's more so about how someone's experiencing love alone, as opposed to two people, finding love, and all the cheesy stuff is it's unique. And I think another thing that's so awesome is how little she talks, but how powerful, like how much you can still feel her emotions.
Yeah. So let's get ready to do this, man. And let's get to start our conversation on Kieslowski's Three Colors Blue. All right, Patrick, let's go ahead and get this going, man. I mean, I've got a couple of topics here that I went, and I mean, we're looking like we're getting to the 30-minute mark, so we get to start like a little bit. We'll probably go to that 40 before we go break. But what's it called? I mean, you can't really talk about this movie without talking about like the main thing that it's about. Because for those of you who may not know, blue, white, red are the colors of the French flag. And those three colors have specific meanings to those colors. They're the ideals that the French Revolution was founded upon. and the first one is liberty. But this movie doesn't look at liberty as like, freedom, but more so an emotional type of liberty, because you know other than instead of just staying around the town that she lived in, being around the people so they can pity her after the death of the two people that are closest to her, she decides to just go away, leave, make sure that nobody can find her, and make sure that nobody can talk to her, and she can live away from everybody else and meet these new people, but still not get too attached to the point that she has to discuss about what has made her come over here. And I found that really interesting, man. How, I mean, I would say that that's something that, you know whether when you go through a breakup or you go through a death in the family or somebody close to you, there is that first apparent need of being like, I really wish I was in right here. Like, I want to be away from all the people I know right now and be able to deal with this on my own before I even have to talk to anybody and explain it to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
There's that need to just be separated. But when you're separated, there's a lot that you realize that, hey, you kind of do need people, because it's not easy just being alone all the time. So, what did you think about the whole aspect of emotional liberty, and what did you get out of it?
Whew. I think I feel it. I don't know if I would do exactly what she did, but the idea of just like giving everything she had away was really, really interesting, because she gave away like the house, the belongings, and just moved away. And it seemed like, yeah, emotional liberty in the sense that like she just wanted to forget everything. And like what I found interesting with that is whenever she would go and visit her mother was, for the people who haven't seen it, is like in a she's older and is in like a,
she has Alzheimer's,
like a is in like a nursing home or something similar, and doesn't even recognize her own daughter, which is the main character, Julie. And so whenever Julie comes and visits, I think the mom mistakes her as like her sister or something for a little bit. And then Julie has to correct her a couple times. Yeah. And Julie doesn't ever like seem necessarily frustrated about it. And I think the first time I had watched it, I noticed I was kind of paying attention to what the mother was watching on the TV. And I was trying to figure out like what to make of it. And this time it kind of clicked with me a little bit more. And this is just kind of my own interpretation. But so we have the mother watching the TV and kind of like half listening to Julie as much as she can, being an old woman that has Alzheimer's. And then Julie's there like experiencing that situation. And on the TV is a man bungee jumping. And I felt like the TV kind of represented like Julie's subconscious of like that idea of not having memories anymore and forgetting all these things. Like she's kind of jealous of that freedom. And so I think the bungee jumping kind of represented just like that idea of like being open and free and being able to just like experience in some way, experience maybe the unknown. And yeah, it was like, yeah, it was kind of tough to see Julie like constantly trying to like get away from everything, and then getting away from those past memories. But then like the boy who witnessed the car crash came to her, and as she's trying to get away, he somehow found her through like her doctor or something, or and gave her like an old necklace that he found at the car crash. And then like she also goes and seeks her husband's mistress, and it turns out that she's like pregnant with her husband's child. And like it's like she's trying to get away, but then these things creep up again, and it's really sad to try to see her like find that liberty, but and it seems like back before what I was saying, she's like envious of her mother who has Alzheimer's, and she wishes she could get rid of these memories and these connections, but something's pulling her back. And I guess that's also interesting with the bungee jumping is like,
Yeah.
you know, she wishes she could be free, but at the same time, like she's going to bounce back and something's going to pull her back.
Yeah, you're always going to get pulled back, you know, unless something is wrong and the bungee cord, breaks and you die. But like, you're always going to end up coming back. You're always going to get pulled back. And that's the things, like, you know, even as she starts seeing Olivier and sleeps with him, she refuses the necklace. She doesn't visit her mother anymore. Like, even with all that, she still is being reminded somehow about her life that she had before. Like, you know, when she's with the exotic dancer who lives on the floor behind on the bottom of her, she talks about how she felt embarrassed that her father came to the strip club and she didn't want to go out there, so she called her to come and help her out. And you know, and that's a motherly thing that she did for her. You know? So in a way, she doesn't even matter who she meets, she will still be reminded about the life that she lived before, you know, leaving everything behind. You know, even if it's, you know, it's like films like films like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, what all those, you know, trying to discuss about, like, even if we can erase everything that's happened to us, even if we can find a way to cut all connections with what has happened, we still are somehow brought back to it, because that's life. Such is life. Yeah,
that's how the brain works.
That's how the brain works, man. You know, you can pick up your bags, you can go to the mountains in God knows where, and live there isolated for so long, but your brain will still have a method of reminding you that, hey, you went through this shit.
And it's funny you bring up like when she goes and visits the exotic dancer, because like even in that place where you feel like it's a completely different world than she's lived in the rest of the time, because other than that, she's just in the city and in cafes and in her home and swimming in her apartment. And then when she goes into a new space, she's still reminded of herself, both like the maternal side, but also like she sees herself on the TV, which is probably like the last place that she would expect to be reminded of things, is an exotic like dance bar or whatever that was.
Yeah, the strip club, man. Yeah, it's just
strip club.
It's a strip club. Yeah, what's it called? That's the last place you think, but she's there, and you know, and what I found, first of all, like what I first found, it was like, you know, I just also, there's a really interesting thing about like how just the pressure that is also put on women to answer for these things, like, you know, not like, and it's not in the sense that it does, then we're saying that it doesn't, you know, there's not given that much pressure to men, but in the same sense, like there's this big pressure placed upon Julie throughout this whole film. And it's like, you know, she barely gets out of the of the hospital. They barely have the funeral, and she already has people coming over to ask questions, like interviews and stuff. And it's like, you know, instead of her letting her actually, you know, live live and being able to go through the grieving process, like she's just she's just right off the bat asked about everything. And, you know, why did you write your husband's music? No, why did you what's gonna happen now? Are you gonna finish the score that you were doing? It's like, those aren't questions you would ask men. Like, come on, like that's not what you would ask a man. And if any of y'all are out there saying like, no, they would, like, no, look at it, man. Really look at it, and look at past examples. Like, that's not what a man would get asked. Yeah. And that's, once again, that's, and I understand in that sense, like, I understand why Julie would get the hell out of that town. Yeah. And why she would not want to be around anybody. Like, just constantly have to be asked. Or like, one of my favorite parts of the film is actually when she's with her mother and during the funeral, and she goes and she's like, why are you crying? And she tells her, because you haven't.
Oh yeah, that was her maid, or like
her maid.
House. Yeah, it was like her house caregiver or something.
Yeah. Yeah, she asked him, like,
Yeah.
she's crying in the corner, and she's like, "Why are you crying?" He goes, "Because you haven't."
Yeah.
And it's just like, because throughout this film, you only see Julie cry twice.
Mm.
Yeah.
When are the two times? One's at the very end.
One's in the beginning when she when they tell her the news that her daughter and her husband died in the crash.
Okay.
And then the
another
second
one.
time's at the end when she's hearing the music, the composed music.
Okay.
And yeah, man, I just and of course, it's not just represented through just the whole idea of emotional liberty, but just, of course, we're gonna talk about, the color, the music being used in the film, also the odd use of fade outs when you're not even passing by time, but like. One of the main things that you have to discuss here is just how this woman just feels like she feels overwhelmed by not just what happened to her, but like everybody who wants to somehow, have her get back to work, have her explain and talk about what she went through, like as if it doesn't hurt her having to talk about it, and in the same time have to look at her mother die from a debilitating disease that makes her forget who her daughter even is. It's like it's a lot to ask from somebody who's just lost pretty much everything.
Yeah, she's in a heavy situation for sure.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we're gonna go to break. And when we come back, we're gonna continue on our discussion and just enjoy these words from our sister shows here at the Nerdcore Podcast Network. So we'll see you guys after the break. Hey, I'm Raul Leandro Mendoza, and this is
Jabril Newton.
And we are the hosts of High Flyer Radio. And finally, pro wrestling has come back to the Nerdcore Podcast feed in the form of a show hosted by Jabril and I. And we talk about everything and anything in the pro wrestling world on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Nothing's off limits. Whatever you guys want to talk about, if it's from AEW to SmackDown to Raw to NXT, nothing's off the table. We can talk about it.
We're going to talk all about it. And if you can get it a day early, you should go to the www.patreon.com/thenerdcore and pledge to the tiers on there so you can get this show and a lot of shows days early before anybody else gets to hear it. But enough talking about it. We'll go ahead and see you there at the Squared Circle. Oh, yeah. Don't tap out. Tune in.
Hello, guys and gals, and you're listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore. I am your host, Daniela Nunez, and along with my amazing co-host, Ashley Garcia, we discuss many things like social impact, pop culture, political realms, and any controversy surrounding the Nerdverse. Tune in and listen to us bi-weekly on the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we will love to chat and hear your thoughts on our wonderful show. And thank you again for listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore.
Hey everyone, my name is Raul, the Nerdy Chicano, and I am the host of The Impaired Files. The Impaired Files is an interview show brought to you every Thursday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And I interview people such as filmmakers, content creators on YouTube, and podcasters like Colton Geschwander. And if you want to listen to that early, a whole week early, all you got to do is go to the Patreon and pledge to the $1 tier. And if you want to listen to it with the general public, then go to Nerdcore podcast feed on anchor.fm/the Nerdcore. And the case is closed, but it's not classified. See you guys there.
Hey, it's Ashley from the Gamer Core. You may remember me from such episodes as Big Screen Mess, Mo Money Mo Platforms, and Brad Can Read. Tune in weekly as I blab with my co-hosts Raul the Nerdy Chicano and Brad the Random Germ about the latest news in gaming and gush over what we're playing at the moment. Oh yeah, and we got the deals too. Keep up with the latest deals in gaming and what's happening as I mediate Brad and Raul fighting like a married couple. Will Death Stranding ever come out? Will Cyberpunk 2077 live up to the hype? Is a next-gen worth a $500 console price tag? And has there ever been a movie adaptation of a video game that's been done right? It's all on the Gamer Core podcast, everywhere where podcasts are.
Hey guys, this is Brad, aka Young Yoda. Raul said I had to make an ad, so that's what I'm doing. It's supposed to be for Unstructured, but as you guys know, you can freaking catch me everywhere when it comes to this podcast feed. You can find me on the Nerd Cores, on Gamer Cores, on nerdy Chicanos sometimes when I get lost. But for this particular one, I want you guys to go check out Unstructured. The Raul gave me free reign to do whatever I want to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So go hear me talk about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, vaping, so many other freaking weird topics that chimichangas, that's a good one. Shout out to Deadpool. And yeah, I guess this is the end of the ad. So if you guys want to find me, you can find me all over the place on this podcast feed. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you all. And nerd up.
Hey everyone, I'm Raul.
And I'm Brad.
And we're the hosts of the Nerdcore Podcast, the podcast that talks that nerd. Not on this ad, right? And we come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. On the Mondays, we talk the news. That's the box office, the news of the week, and your trailer talk if there is any. And on Tuesday, we have our theme review. And on Saturday, you have a Saturday morning review, usually movies that have come out in the week or anything we want to talk about. Right, Brett?
Exactly. Whatever we want to talk about, this is our show. If you don't like it, then you don't have to listen.
We're the flagship show of the Nerdcore Podcast feed, and we can be found everywhere you can listen to podcasts like Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. So if you want to talk that nerd stuff with us every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, make sure you tune in. And Brad?
Young Yoda out.
Welcome back to the Cinema Condition. Today we are discussing Three Colors Blue, and we're coming back to our conversation on Three Colors Blue. As always, I thank you all for sticking with us after the break, if you're still listening to us here. And I want to say thank you all so much who have been giving us so much love on season 2 of the Cinema Condition. It's been a lot of fun. We've had some new guests. We've had some old guests come back. Today we have an old guest. But I want to thank you all so much for giving up all the love. If you want to listen to more of those shows, you know where to go. You go to anchor.fm/the nerdcore, CORPS. And if you want to listen to this show, you got to be on anchor.fm/the cinema condition. But also, go over to the Apple Podcast page for both the Nerdcore and the Cinema Condition. Drop a 5-star review because it helps us out a lot. And also, if you're a patron at the $1 tier and above, you get this episode a week early before anybody else gets to listen to it. And also, you get the video version. So you get to see me, you get to see Brad, you get to see Pat's face, you get to see the Criterion set that he was showing off a while ago. So if you want to get all that, you go to patreon.com/nerdcore, CORPS, and you pledge to the $1 tier and above. And you get early access to a lot of cool stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and get back into our conversation on Kieslowski's Three Colors Blue. Patrick, we're back from break, bro. We got that going on. So let's go ahead and get back into this, dude. I mean, what's it called? We kind of already talked about the emotion. We were talking about the emotional liberty. We talked about the whole grief and loss part of it all. But, I want to talk I want to talk mostly about the technical aspects here that we don't get to really talk about all that much. I want to talk about the music. I want to talk about the color, and I want to talk about specifically the way the time, but emotional time, is represented within the fade outs that are used in this movie. Because that's really interesting. Usually, for those of you who don't know what a fade out is, it's when literally the picture fades out and then you fade back in to another picture. Usually that represents a change in time. But within this film, it's not really used for that. We have various aspects, various examples in this film where the picture kind of fades out, but it comes back to the same picture. Specifically, I'm remembering when she met with the boy who gave her the necklace. She gives her the necklace and the picture fades out, and it kind of fades back into her just still there with the boy. I wanted to know, what did you think about that? What is your interpretation of that? Because I have an idea of what that is.
For me, I mean, I think there could be a deeper meaning, but the way that I interpret it is similar to my own experiences when I am having like a very intimate moment with someone, whether it's just like someone I really appreciate and we're having great conversation and it's just like a great moment and conversation's flowing and we're enjoying each other's company. And I feel like sometimes there's moments where I just like, not necessarily black out, but I just kind of like fade into this, like, I'm accepting like everything that you're saying. I'm accepting this energy, this love, whatever it is. And we're just like, I'm just happy. I'm just there. And so I kind of interpret it in the same way, but I think she is a little, it's more of a somber blackout than for me, what I described. I think that she's like just kind of getting in her own head and just kind of fading away and experiencing, and yeah, like I said, like, yeah, getting in her own head. And it's like she's still in the moment. Like you said, time is not passing. She's still in the moment, but it's almost like nothing's really happening. She's just fading into oblivion or whatever it is, and into her brain, into her like spiritual mind.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do agree that it's kind of like, were you going to say something else?
I was going to say, as like a part of the whole memory thing, I remembered I wanted to mention this one line, and I think this kind of goes along with the blackout thing. When she's speaking to her mother, I wrote this down because I really like this line, and it was funny because it was right as I was thinking like about the bungee cord thing and how she just like wants to let go and probably jump away, be free of all these memories. I had paused it and I'd written down that idea of the bungee cord. And then right after that, I played it. And she says, I want no possessions, no memories, no friends, no lovers. They're all traps. And I feel like her getting into that space is that fade is her getting into that space where maybe she's like, maybe wishing that all that is gone, and imagining like, just trying to get into that headspace where like everything is gone, and imagining if that didn't exist.
I mean, in a sense, an imagination of death, don't you think? Like
I can see that. Yeah,
it fades out. The screen is black. There's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
That's her way of thinking. Like, so this is what it would feel to not hear anything, for it to be dark and not have to feel anything. This is literally what it is. I mean, that's an interesting way to kind of put it. You know, I do agree it's her getting in her head. I think that those are mostly the instances of her getting pulled back into the life, into her life. Like those are the moments where she's like, "Oh, it's happening. They're gonna get me back into this, and I don't want to talk about it." But
I can see that.
We fade back in, and she still somehow finds a way to leave it all. Like no, like with the boy, we fade back, we fade out, we fade back in, and she says, "You found it, you keep it." You know, there's an ideal that I've lived with for a while now. He goes, the one who is to find it is the one who keeps it. And she leaves. And then just as, like, once again, that's a really interesting scene that you use, because just as you think, you know, that she's done, Olivier comes in and he's like, oh no, what's it called? Here's the other guy. What's it called? Still somehow. And you see her face like she's like, well, once again, this shit, right? Like, left alone. But like she's once again finding a way to get pulled back, and then later again we see another fade out. I think we see a fade out in the exotic bar as well, the exotic dancing bar. But there's just like they're not. There's not a sense of representing time passing. More so, you know, a representation of what's it called, of her emotions coming back up. Like she's done a really good job so far of not having to interact with anybody and not having anything have to be brought up anymore. But once these little instances where people are coming back in and she goes to see her mother, things are getting put back in, and she's once again going back into her mind, so that way she can she can pull herself back out, because she's being pulled in. So let's pull herself out so she doesn't have to deal with this again. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I just think about like, it feels like a very heavy emotional response. And I think that goes along with something that I like so much about this movie, is how Kieslowski like is able to portray her emotions so well, and we get to know her so well, both through like her actions and what she says, but also like what she doesn't say, and just like how she just sits there and experiences moments. Like when I think one of my favorite parts of the movie is when, and I think she blacks out, or it fades to black at this point too, when she gets locked out of her room and she's just sitting on the staircase and she sees like the blue lights kind of come up again. And then I think it might fade to black there, but it seems like this just intense emotional experience where she's not like consciously thinking about anything. It's just like, whoa, here's this shit again. And whether it's her departing from those memories and hoping that, you know, she's finding that liberty, or the opposite, that she's getting back into it. And it's like, oh man, here's these poor memories again that I'm trying to find liberty from. I'm not sure, but it definitely feels like an intense emotional response. Maybe not intense, but an emotional response that like she doesn't seem to have a whole lot of control over.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the color is another really interesting part. You know, I mean, you know, blue is a very, you know, poignant color. It's very colorful. It's a happy color. You know, it's usually a really happy color. It's dark.
You see it as happy?
Blue?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the blue that's represented in here, at least, like how colorful it is, like how I'm guessing. I mean, like, I don't have the Criterion, what's it called, the release, so I don't know what this new transfer looks like. But the version I watched on HBO Max, that color looked a lot like it lighted. But blue is also a very sad color. It's very sad. You know, it's literally in the things. What do you say when you're feeling sad? Oh, I'm blue today. I'm feeling blue. Right. You know, you know, I'm playing the blues because the blues are sad songs.
Yes.
You know, but in somehow, you know, I'm guessing blue was the color of her daughter's room.
Yep.
Yeah. And she, you know, she tries to like break everything that has blue in her old house because it reminds her of her daughter. And then she moves into this new apartment and there's still blue. And throughout this film, there's blue everywhere. There's blue in the pool. There's blue on the street, in the buildings. There's blue literally everywhere. She can't escape the color itself. And in a way, that's she can't escape her daughter's death. No matter where you go, you will be reminded of your daughter's death. What did you think that the blue signified?
So one thing I learned was, well, maybe they don't know this for sure, but someone was talking about the colors for this film, and they were saying how, like colors usually have these connotations to different emotions. So like red can be very passionate and romantic, and white can kind of represent purity or some type of like equality or peace. And blue, like you said, it can represent happiness to you, or sadness, or being like it can also like be in like scary movies because it could be like a dull color, and maybe like nighttime blue reflecting off the moon or just the night sky. And they were expressing that they felt like blue was chosen for Julie because of all these different crazy emotions that she's experiencing, where she's finding her freedom, but then all of a sudden she's caught up in her memories that she's trying to escape from. And then there are even some kind of scary moments, like at the beginning. I think she's playing the piano at the like mansion that they owned, or big house that they owned, and like the like top or cap, I don't know what it's called, of the piano like slams down.
Oh yeah.
And then I think blue like reflects in her face.
Yeah.
And that moment, I feel like if you didn't know about this movie, you could almost think it's going to go down like a horror path.
Yeah.
Which I guess
the other instance where sorry for interrupting you, but the other instance when she's on the couch, and then all of a sudden like blue just pours in, and she's like, bonjour, bonjour, bonjour.
Mhm.
She's like, somebody's here. And then the reporter comes in to try to ask her questions.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
There's a couple moments where like you can definitely see this going down like a horror movie path. And so, yeah, it seems like blue was used because it can have so many different meanings, and it's like Julie is going down this path where she's trying to understand where she wants to be, and she's having so many different emotional responses that you don't really know how she's feeling. Well, I mean, I think you know how she's feeling, but you're like discovering as she goes. There's not like a certain path that she's going down.
Yeah, man. And just once again, and also blue is a very I don't want to say childish, but usually what we usually have what blue represent is when like blue and pink are one's for boy, one's for girl, right? What's going to announce the coming of a child and what their gender is going to be, right? What's it called? So blue is a very childlike color. It's a color that it's usually aligned with children. And in a way, that's also to me what it's kind of representing here. But it's also just it's all the emotions kind of bottled up, and it's like it's all pouring in. It's like she goes back to her apartment where nobody gets to talk to her and stuff, and that's where she's completely alone with her thoughts. And she tries to fill up the room with a lot of decorations and stuff, but there's still that blue chandelier,
right?
There's still that lingering presence of the life she lived before, and her emotions not being processed correctly. It's a constant reminder of the grief that she hasn't processed yet.
Yeah, that blue chandelier is beautiful.
Yeah,
the reflections it makes, but even just the beads themselves.
Yeah,
very beautiful. And yeah, that was something that she took from her daughter's room. So brings back all sorts of memories, but even specifically her daughter.
Yeah, and then when she's swimming, everything's blue in there. Even at night. I mean, look at the background that's on our what's it called on the video version. It's at night and the whole pool is blue.
Right.
And there's another instance where she's like swimming and she talks where she talks about the mice, right? The rats. And she once again, we're being pulled back into her life before, when she was a child, and she's like, she goes back to this very primal way of childlike wonder, where she was like, when she goes to ask her mom, like, was I afraid of mice when I was a kid? And she says yes, but she doesn't say yes that you were afraid. She's like, no. She's like, she thinks that she's talking to her sister, and she says, no, it was Julie who was afraid of mice.
Yeah. And
so she grabs the cat from the landlord to try to kill the mice, but then she doesn't have she doesn't have the willpower to clean up after the dead mice. She doesn't have the power to confront mortality again. So she gets somebody to do it for her, but there at the pool, she's met with comfort from the exotic dancer, and she's told that everything's gonna be okay. Like, somebody can do it for you. You're gonna be fine. There's no need to be all bent out of shape over this. And then kids come in, and also a bunch of kids in white, in a white bathing suit and red floaties. Yeah. You saw that?
And she got to that. She went or chose that apartment because there were no kids there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where those kids came from. I don't know if it was like a field trip or what, but
probably. Yeah.
I'm sure that was frustrating for her.
Yeah. And she is still yet she's in this place, and there's still that lingering presence of her daughter.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the blue, I think, represents a lot of the lingering presence of what we feel is the emotional liberty from this woman, but it's still not. It's not there. You're not truly free, because in a way, is anyone ever truly free? Because the what's it called, their brain doesn't care how much you try. Like, the brain will remind you, the body will remind you about everything. It doesn't matter whether you've tried everything to suppress it or you've tried to, work through it. There will still be moments where the body reminds you about what it is that you're going through. And in a sense, you're not really free. we wish that we were, but you weren't.
There was a line from one of the video essays that's a part of the supplements on the Criterion, and
there you go, showing it off.
I meant to write it down, but the lady was talking about how it seems like throughout our lives, we're searching for freedom in some way, but we're also searching for love a lot of the time. And she was talking about how can we be free, but also be giving our heart to someone and our deepest emotions and vulnerability to someone. And then at the end, she kind of concludes with talking about how freedom can be found in liberty in yourself, but also vulnerability or something with a partner. She said it really well. I forgot what she said, but it was some interesting points. I want to rewatch it because she did a good job.
Yeah. And it's like we give our heart and our life to these people who we feel like are a big part of our time and our progression as humans, and then it's ripped away from us, and we feel like we can't fathom the idea of having to confront that, and that it's easier to just lock it up in a box and put it away.
Another thing that I liked about the colors, I especially noticed this at the beginning, because I watched this in halves. I watched half of it last night and then half of it this morning. But it seemed like, and I guess this goes along with the editing, but I noticed a lot of the time when they would have these really blue saturated scenes, when it would cut to a new scene, the new scene would be very gold, which is the complementary. I think orange is the direct complementary, but yellow is somewhere in there on the complementary side of blue on the color wheel. And it always seemed like my eyes got to rest for a second because it was so saturated with this blue, and it was very interesting because the gold would just whop me, because I think it might have been a scene where she was maybe it was after the piano, or she was looking at the beads or something, and there's all this blue going on, and then it cuts to her going around the house, and I think it was maybe it was golden hour or something, but the walls were painted in a soft yellow, and the arches were a darker brown, and I think the sun coming in just gave it this gold overwash. And I was like, wow, that's really smart editing, because it wasn't super stark. It's not like it was blue saturated and then gold saturated. It was a very soft gold, and it seemed to give your eyes a rest, and it allowed the blue to be emphasized in some way.
Yeah. So then the final thing that I had to talk about was the whole representation of music throughout this film. Julie is a composer. She composed the music for her husband, and she left an incomplete score that was called the Unification of Europe. In a sense, it's a unification of everybody who was making music together in Europe, and I think it's so smart to represent this idea of unification through music, because music is probably one of the most unifying aspects. You can meet somebody who speaks a completely different language than you, doesn't understand anything you've ever been through, but you like a song, or you like a band, or you like an artist, and you'll automatically be there's one thing that you'll automatically have something that both of you can relate to. But also music, in a sense, is a very, complementary thing. Everything works together to unify and create one specific sound, and it's a very unified sound that creates a song. And throughout it, Julie, it's this is her way of not wanting to complete the work, because the other person who would be there to complete the work isn't there anymore.
Right.
She can't complete it on her own. She needs her husband to do it. She needs her husband to be there to help her, because he's the one who would give her the inspiration to keep writing the music. And when Olivier finds the missing parts, because he got it from Patrice's lover, that's you have to confront the fact that, and it's interesting because the mistress says, it's sad because now you'll hate me and you'll hate him. but
Mhm.
she wasn't really talking about. She was talking about what's it called, Patrice, but she was also talking about her unborn child. You know,
Mhm.
like, you're gonna hate him now because he's his bastard son.
Right. Yeah.
And the last thing, that one of the most beautiful, what's it called, purest things you can find in the world, has to lead Julie to confront the fact that her husband cheated on her
Yeah.
and had a child that he didn't know about with another woman, and in a way having to have to confront all the pain and the emotions that she was going through prior to all this, prior to having to confront the mistress.
Mhm.
Yeah. Plus, the music is beautiful.
Yeah, the music's wild. I've been thinking a lot about, and I wanna watch it again and maybe pay a little more attention to this, but it's obvious that this is like shot from Julie's point of view because we follow her and it gets so deep into her emotions. But I wonder, like, if at some moments it almost gets to the point of like Shutter Island, where like you can't really, because it's told from, like Leo's point of view, and it turns out that he's crazy. Have you seen it?
Shutter Island, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never seen it, but I've had it spoiled like 1,000 times.
Oh, okay.
So, like, you really can't tell me something that I haven't heard of.
Right. But I'm sure there's other movies, but that's the first one that comes to mind, where you don't know if you can trust the person that you're following and their point of view because of the emotional distress that they're going through. And I feel like the music helps like emphasize how much a part of like the narrative is, or how tight it is into like her emotional experiences, because like you experience the music a lot of the times when Julie is experiencing something very intense. So like when she's throwing away the like one of the pieces that her and her husband had wrote, she has it in her hands and the music's playing, and yeah, the music's just so beautiful. And then she throws it in the garbage truck, and you see it crashing and crunching. And during that, what's that?
But it doesn't get ripped.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, like, it gets crunched up, and and you would think that when it gets put through the contraption like that, it would get ripped apart.
Yeah,
but it doesn't get ripped.
True, it just folds.
Yeah.
But what I thought was so interesting is like the music like slows and distorts as it's getting crunched, and then like whenever she like puts her fingers and is writing the music, you experience the music as she's like hovering over it with her fingers.
Yeah.
And I really like how, or at least the idea of the music, like being in her head and us like being even more deeply connected to her and her emotions, and this narrative being told from her point of view. I think the music really helps portray that.
I wish that I had the lyrics to the song here, because of what's it called, the specific songs. Like, it was given like this kind of like a feeling of letting go, of finally letting go, and it's like, in a sense, that's the cathartic moment. Like, usually you think the climax is the catharsis in here, and the fact that the climax basically is that where you find out that Patrice had a a lover. But to me, the cathartic moment here is that final sequence. Her finishing the last work left by her husband, and she's writing. And also, you see that she's writing in blue marker, whatever it is.
Yep.
She's writing in blue pen. But that final sequence, it's cathartic, man. She's letting go. She finished the last work that was left from her husband. After this moment on, she can go she can embark on the journey of finally being able to process this death and being able to move past it, while also having to come to terms with the fact that her husband wasn't the man that she thought he was. But and she finally cries and she lets out all that emotion, because it's allowing her to finally move on.
Yeah. And something else that I had learned about this movie that some of these people that wrote essays about that it had talked about was like the use of windows,
Yeah.
which I feel like I noticed but didn't really acknowledge. But it was talking about like the duality of freedom and liberty with the window, where like if you're in a home and you're looking out into the world, that's kind of freeing because you're seeing so much and what's out there and what can be experienced. But at the same time, if you're looking at someone through a window, you could see them as like being locked in a space and not being able to escape. And everything outside the window is something that they don't have the ability to experience. And I think the end, she's making love with Olivier. Is that how you say it?
Olivier. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like pressed up against a window, and seems like, she's almost like experiencing that freedom or liberty in some sense. And then the very end, she's looking through a window again and crying. And like you said, she's finished the piece. She has like had some emotional experience with Olivier, and then she's crying. And then there's this really nice like wash of blue where like I think the sun is rising a little bit, and it's like maybe the morning blue coming up, and it creeps in the frame, and it's really nice. And I thought that idea of like a window being both like, it can be freeing because it allows you to see the world and view out into the world and experience it in some way, but it can also be seen as you being trapped behind this glass.
I found the what's it called, the lyrics. If with the tongues of men I speak and of angels, love I do not have. I have become a gong resounding or cymbal clanging. And if I have the gift of prophecy and no mysteries all, faith mountains move. Love I do not have, nothing I am. Love is generous, virtuous. Love does not envy, boast, not proud is. All she protects, all she trusts, all she hopes, all she preserves. Love never fails. Be it prophecies, they will cease. Be it tongues, they will be stilled. Be it knowledge, it will cease. So remain faith, hope, and love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. Yeah. It's throughout. Yeah, it's like she completed, but she'll never forget the love she has for her husband. She'll never, and the love she has not just for her husband but her daughter. And even though everything that's happened, she still loves those two, and she misses them every day. But now after this, she can finally move on, and she won't forget about it. She won't. But it'll be easier to cope with the fact that they're not there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I discovered is the score was made before the movie was shot.
That's interesting. Usually you make it the score after the movie's shot.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Also, these three movies were shot between September of 92 and May of 93.
Wow.
So that's August, September, October, November, December.
Were they all shot back to back to back?
So 10 months, these three movies were shot. Yeah. And then I think in September of 93 is when Blue was like
Released.
shown.
Yeah.
Released.
And then of course you it's a brief moment. If you don't catch it, you don't see it. There's a moment in here where you see Julie Deppie's husband that she's going to divorce in White in the film. So it's teaching you about White. Yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to bring up, or can we wrap it up? Because somehow it doesn't matter how much time we spend apart, we always end up making these episodes long, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the macro shots. That's the reason I like macro shots. Is this movie?
We get really close, bro. We get really up and personal, dude.
Yeah, I want to so bad. Every short film, anything I've ever worked on, I want to be able to do an eyeball reflection like they do.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to figure out how to do that. and
Yeah.
because it's so nice and it's so powerful. They do it once at the beginning, like as she's discovering that her family had passed away, and she's like waking up from a coma or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever she was experiencing after the car crash. And then I think at the end, we see the reflection of her in Olivier's eyes after they
have sex.
made love. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those macros.
Yeah, I love that. I love that shot of when she's in the she's in the reflection of the eye, and you just see her bare back and her head and her hair. It's like, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. But I also heard that they would sometimes like put blue gels like actually on the camera. I bet that's what they did for these pool scenes, because it's so blue, dude.
It's like, especially the one that's our background, right? Like I feel like that is definitely the lens being covered in a blue gel.
Yeah,
which, it's an interesting, what's it called? It's interesting, and it's also cheap, because you don't have to buy a filter. You just have to like, you're like, hey, just keep the what's it called, the lens closed, like keep it still. Here's the gel. Let's just leave it like that.
When I was watching it yesterday, I thought that they had just done like a weird process to the film.
Yeah, the negatives, right?
Yeah, I thought that they had like maybe developed it in a weird way where it just gave it a cooler tone and made it more blue. But yeah, no, they slapped some blue gels in the camera.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think that throughout this whole film, like, yes, it's a story about a woman who just wants to be left alone, but like it's a story of a woman who doesn't need to be left alone. Like even throughout all this, even though we want to just be out of everyone's hair, we want to just be away from everything we don't want to feel. It's better to feel than to not feel, because then we can truly confront what is the source of our pain and what we can do to move on from our pain.
True.
Yeah.
Well said.
So that concludes.
That sounds like a good outro. Yeah.
That concludes our discussion on Three Colors Blue, and we'll be back next week as we continue on with Three Colors White.
Yes, sir.
As always, I want to thank you all so much for listening and being here. I want to thank the patrons who make the shows possible, but specifically want to thank them for making this. I want to thank y'all, all of y'all, for giving us the love that we've been getting, because we've been getting a good amount of love on these episodes. So I thank you all so much for that, and it means a lot. Pat, you're gonna be back next week, but fuck it, let them know where they can find you.
So you can find me at PatGPix on Instagram, and then I also got patgpix.com.
Yeah.
I got a few projects going on, but my newest one it's called Get to Know Us. It's a self-portrait project, but I plan on it being a lot more. But right now it's a self-portrait project exploring my growth, and I call it a collaborative exploration of growth dedicated to supporting artists. So it's going to be about me and my career and trying to find myself and where I belong in this world, while simultaneously collaborating with other artists and doing things like this just to learn more about ourselves and the world that we live in. So yeah, check it out, patgpix.com.
patgpix.com, man. And as always, you can find me at the Nerd Chicano on both Instagram and Twitter. YouTube.com. Go and search up my name, Raul Alejandro Mendoza. You find my YouTube channel, and you subscribe, and then you get me to 100 subscribers, and then I get a custom URL where I no longer have to make my ad this long. Please, because then I could just say the Nerd Chicano on everywhere. Because guess what? You can find me also on twitch.tv/the Nerd Chicano. On Mondays, I do Between the Frames, where we talk about a movie. And we talk about, we review it, but we also talk a little bit about what the movie's trying to say. And on Wednesdays, we do the Nerd Chicano live at 1:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. Central Daylight Time. I don't fucking know, Central Time. We have a guest every week coming on to talk about their lives, and also a topic that we want to knock out. And every now and then on a Friday, I do a special stream looking at a Criterion set. I'm making my way through my Fellini set, so that's going to be the next one. God knows when I'll finish that, but I'll be doing it.
How many movies are in that one?
14.
Wow.
Films. Newly restored.
I can't
4K
wait to steal
digital
it from you.
Yep. No, you're not gonna steal shit. But yeah, man, I want to thank you all so much, and we will see you all next week when we discuss Three Colors White with the same guest. With that said, I don't really have an outro, but I ask of you all to take care of yourself, stay safe, and remember that you are loved, and sit back, relax, watch a movie. Either way, we'll see you guys next week. You don't want to say goodbye, Pratt?
Oh, peace. Bye.
See you guys next week.
Bye.